Welcome to Happily Ever Aftermath,
the podcast where we discuss relationships in movies and our relationships with them.
I'm Polina Grunbaum.
And I'm Diana Rojek-Sconard.
Hello, Diana.
Hey, Polina.
How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. Yourself?
Me too.
That's awesome.
Me too. Hanging out with you has definitely made me feel like in a good mood. I'm happy to be here.
And now
standing and all.
And we're in front of mics now, so
yeah,
let's do this.
Why not?
All right.
Want to record a podcast?
Well, I think what's funny is that we're both kind of like hesitating back and forth right now because it's kind of unclear whose choice this was.
It kind of was.
Well, yeah. I stand that it was your choice, and I was like, no, I want to talk about Dead Poets Society.
I keep thinking, oh, it's your choice because you have more. I thought you had more of a thing about this movie.
Oh, I definitely have a thing about this movie.
But then I think I'm just not admitting that I have a thing about this movie.
You have the thing, but you were just so jazzed about Hawktober.
I was jazzed about Hawktober,
like,
but I think I explain why.
Yeah, we have to do Dead Poets Society. I'm like, no, oh, okay.
You wanted Hawktober not to be much shorter than it has become, but I pushed ahead.
Here we are.
By ignoring it.
Here we are. Dead Poets Society, 1989.
That's true.
Yep. Set in 1959 at the fictional elite conservative Vermont boarding school Welton Academy. It tells the story of an English teacher who inspires his students through his teaching of poetry.
It's true.
Cue the bagpipes.
I can't do bagpipes, which is weird because I worked in a bar where every Friday and Saturday night, the bagpipes would start up right next to me as I was holding a tray of drinks, and then I would jump.
Interesting movie for me to say this. I owned the soundtrack.
Really?
What's interesting is that
interesting.
It was, first of all, it was a European import. I bought it off of eBay because you could not get it in the States.
European import, I remember.
And also, I bought it twice, much like the Wedding Singer soundtrack, Volume 1, Volume 2, bought it twice. It was a gift to somebody else, and then I bought it for myself. It was actually a compilation of the composer Maurice Jarre's, all of his works at the time.
Oh my God.
So I just very much enjoyed this. I only listened to the first four actually, I didn't even listen to the first four tracks. I listened to the first one, which is just the original, beautiful,
it does have a
Vermont weather, has a feel, crispness to it, much like this music.
Fall.
And then, of course, the end.
In Vermont.
The end, the iconic scene, which I was just thinking like, okay, well, we're going to have the big thing and the big end and the parts that, of course, stand out in my memory the most. And, of course, the big swelling music at the very end, with which we'll get there, I promise. By the way, if you have not seen Dead Poets Society, you need to stop listening to us temporarily and
like forever, for the end of time. We will not have this.
And they never came back. Go see this movie.
Diana, why do we have no downloads?
Why did my husband abandon me entirely?
Why do all my friends hate me?
Okay, I can't get into that.
Yeah, that's true.
It's they actually called this a drama/teen film when I looked this up on Google.
Drama/teen film.
Apparently Dead Poets Society. I mean, there are teens in the movie, and I was a teen when I saw this movie.
I was too.
Oh, wait, I think they have a good point here.
Yeah.
So here.
And was it better as a teen, or will we get to that later?
Okay, well, here's the thing.
Should we say what happens in the movie?
No. Not yet.
Never. We're never telling you that.
For those of you who are not listening right now, wait, what? Okay, so
we told you to stop watching, to stop listening, and
so you have Robin Williams, the subject of our specialty month, Ethan Hawke.
Yes.
You have Sean Leonard.
Robert Sean Leonard.
You have Josh Charles. And the rest, because I don't give a crap about the rest of these guys.
No, who cares?
No. You have...
I mean, Gale Hansen, I'll give, whatever.
Don't. Why?
Yeah.
Nawanda?
Nawanda.
I don't know how I feel about that now.
Oh, yeah, that was a little complicated.
That got difficult. Yeah, okay, so you have these boys.
Let's focus on the good. After this week, after this past week in American life, which is the week we just went through, not the week that this will be released.
You are so confusing.
I know.
Myself, not the listeners.
Ethan, Robert, Sean Leonard, and Josh. Let's just focus on those. And then Robin Williams.
And May he rest in
May he
peace.
rest in peace.
Damn it.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know.
It's so funny because Ryan was saying like,
Oh my
wow.
God, I'm getting really. Ugh.
Well, no, Ryan's just like, oh, wow. Just like all this, suicide subtext. And I'm like, it's not subtext, honey. He kills himself in the movie. He's like,
yeah, it's not a subtext. It's not like.
and I'm like, I'm talking about Robin Williams. I'm like, damn it. I forgot.
Yeah, I kind of forgot too. I feel really.
But isn't that the power of his performance?
Yes.
You kind of forget about the real. That is actually the testament of an incredible performance.
No, this was he in this movie. I mean, I remember him being good, but I have to say I was like kind of mixed about like the actual act of rewatching this movie.
I dreaded it.
Wasn't as
Personally.
really?
I dreaded it.
Okay, talk about that.
Okay. Well, let's go to the original. Like the first time I saw this movie, I can't pinpoint it exactly.
I can't.
But I can tell you that I was already very familiar with it when I watched it in 7th grade poetry class. And poetry class was...
Did you watch the whole thing, like start to finish?
The movie?
Or was it just the clips?
No. The class was only an hour.
That's what I was going to say. I was like, so you just spent...
we
sounds amazing.
We watched it, and then we watched the rest of the next day.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. But you still watched the whole film.
We watched the whole film.
The parts of him
I was not
talking about.
Back then, I was not looking forward to the part with the suicide. So I'm just like, I actually kept my head down while it happened. And just hearing the sounds of it made me upset. Because, again, I don't remember watching it then. But eventually, after the 7th grade point, when I started my own video collection, I had the VHS copy.
Okay.
And then eventually the DVD copy.
So I saw this movie.
Mm-hmm. In fact, the little spine of the VHS had Robin Williams standing on the chairs as the little icon.
Oh.
Yeah. Sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No. I saw it in the theater.
Well, how old
in
were you?
89.
In 89?
Yeah.
I was about to say, how old were you? Well, I guess if we do the math.
No, but yeah. So I was like 16.
You were the exact age that would have been.
You
were one of the cheerleaders.
I was. Well,
you were one of the theater girls.
No, I was one of the theater. Yeah, I was. Yes.
Were you Tatiana? Is that her name?
Yes, it is. It is
Shakespeare.
Well, there's so in Winter's Tale. Speaking of Shakespeare, there is a Paulina, which is in Winter's Tale, which is not the same as my name. And many people used to call me Paulina based on that. And I had to correct them by saying that my name did not rhyme.
What are you talking with, Pauline?
With now you're just trying to mess with me. Why are you trying to make me angry? Okay, so so I saw it in the theater, and I actually I think it was one of those. Everyone said it was really good. A lot of people, I had a lot of history with this. I did not see it in poetry class, though. A lot of people, I think my teachers mentioned it and were like, this is a great movie. But of course, it wasn't out on VHS. It was just in the theater. And I didn't really register that Ethan Hawke was on it. So when it started, this is why I really remember. I remember the theater I was sitting in, which is in Princeton, and it's oh my God, why am I? It's right on the corner. It's on Witherspoon. If those of you who happen to be in Princeton, it's that theater, and it's a tiny little theater, old, and I remember being like, oh my God, that's Ethan Hawke.
It's a sports authority now, but go ahead. Sorry.
It actually is still a theater, weirdly.
Yay, okay.
Yeah,
Yes, that's Ethan Hawke.
And I didn't know he was in it. And I was like, there was my crush. Because I think this is right around that time.
What was it like to have him 6 feet tall?
It was so overwhelming.
Just his nose.
Okay.
You had terrible seats.
Yeah, I was in the front. It was really hard. Well, the funniest thing is, we always talk about, I always talk about, because I have a terrible memory, the experience of watching a movie, and being super excited to watch it and then realizing I remember this movie completely differently. In my movie, Ethan Hawke was the main character instead of a supporting character.
So
I kept being
so he was the teacher?
he was Robert Sean Leonard.
Oh, no, that makes more sense.
Do you know what I mean? He was he is. So in my movie at the time, he is and I think he is billed above him because
Robert
at
Sean
the time
Leonard is billed above Ethan Hawke. Yeah. But at the same time, when you Google this, Ethan Hawke is now second to Robin Williams. Boo!
I am.
Google.
Yeah.
Go on.
Well, I think I have to say this movie, I mean, I always liked Sean Leonard, and you've definitely helped me realize that, you've definitely helped me realize the beauty and power of Sean Leonard. However,
You mean Claudio?
yeah, I'm like, but this movie, I was like, oh my God, if I saw this movie and I didn't already have a crush on Ethan Hawke, Sean Leonard would have been my boy.
You apologize to Josh Charles. Rank
Josh Charles I can't, oh God, it's like a Sophie's Choice.
Well, the weird thing is
It's like asking to choose my favorite child.
So the movie starts and I'm watching and I'm just like, they're all babies. I don't feel well about this. And Ryan goes, they were probably like in their 20s when they filmed this. And I'm like, they're still babies. I can't do that. And then Ryan starts doing the whole like half your age -7 math for me right now. And I'm just like, I don't care what math you do right now. This is wrong.
You can't think about it this way. I know. I just can't think about it.
And then you Google their current images and I'm just like, okay, that's slightly better.
Sean Leonard. They both, everybody's aged well.
They've aged very well, except I would say Josh Charles has aged the best.
Oh yeah. I think if we're going to rank them, I'm actually comfortable ranking with who has aged best. And I am going to go with you. I cannot argue with you.
I honestly would go Josh Charles, then Ethan Hawke, and then Sean Leonard.
Yeah, except for the bad mustache. I'm like, Ethan, come on, dude.
Well, to be fair, you're just going with the photo that you have in front of you right now.
And he looks like just a douche. I know, but actually I've seen him. He's got a couple of those. I've seen him with the mustache. This is not an isolated incident. This is not an isolated porn stash incident on Mr. Hawke's part.
Ethan Hawke looks like Ron Jeremy. Ew.
Except much thinner.
Porn stash. Gross.
Porn stash.
Yeah. Okay. So they're in a prep school. Here's something that I thought was kind of interesting, and this is another reason why I hesitated to pick this movie.
Do you know we've never actually said what happens in this movie? Well, we just gave the whole thing away.
Well, okay. Okay. Well, here's the deal. I didn't want to have another Newsies incident where it's like there is a girl in this movie for about 45 seconds. Woo! There's your love story right there. This is not okay. That love story is not the focus of this movie. My love story.
I don't know.
Well, okay, fine. How about this?
I think it's actually
for the purposes of this particular podcast.
I will disagree with you. I think it actually is a huge part of this story.
If for anyone who's keeping score, Polina has disagreed with me.
I know it'll never happen again.
Okay. So I'm not going to focus on the whole idea of Knox and Chris, the girl he has the crush on. I mean, she was a placeholder for just, where is that boy for me? The one who is overcome, who is trying to become stronger than his insecurities and his fears to admit. And come on, let's be honest. Carpe diem seize the day. I'm actually... Yeah.
Oh my God. You literally have goosebumps.
I'm getting the goosebumps. You're watching.
No, I see them. I see them.
They're forming as we speak.
I see them, and I'm not even wearing glasses.
And I had to write down so many different quotes because I was just thinking, all right, this is the movie where we're in the prep school. All the guys get a taste of what it's like to think for themselves. Things go horribly wrong. Because for a little while, I was wondering how much of this I was going to be like, come on, boys, you're 17. I'm going to agree with some of the older people now, because like The Breakfast Club, I watch it now, and it's just like, I'm not on the side of the principal because he's like taking it 4 steps too far, but I am on the side of grow up, life gets better. This is not your entire universe, etc. This isn't all about.
Well, I think that's a running theme, right? Is that like you watch something and you're like, the adults were ridiculous, and you watch it and you're like, I think they should listen to the adults.
Yeah, there was a reason.
Like when we watched Much Ado About Nothing, and we're like, that's the romance I was focused on.
Damn
like,
you, Claudio. Well, it's and also like, speaking,
you're lucky you're cute, Claudia.
Not anymore. Also, like too young for me now. No, it's also like that other Robin Williams movie, that meme I was just seeing recently. When I was younger, Sally Field was just so much not fun, but now, no, she has every right to be upset at everything that happened in that movie. So good for you, Sally Field. Okay,
just in general.
Well, yeah, actually, yep.
Yeah, I stand with Sally.
We like her. We really, really, really like her. Okay, so if you really think about it,
Mm-hmm.
boys in Vermont, prep school, high standards for excellence by not only their administrators and their teachers, but also their parents. There was a big thing that happened where Neil is just being told. Neil is played by Robert Sean Leonard. I was going to say Neil Patrick Harris. Not correct.
Totally different movie.
Not correct. But he is to become a doctor.
Oh my God, I've given you my disease.
No. Just like, like
it's
Neil.
moonlighting.
No. Neil Patrick Harris, he also, Doogie Howser, Neil was supposed to become a doctor. Maybe that's why his father insisted. Your name is Neil, you will become a doctor. So
I've been watching the show.
Yeah.
It's from the future.
And apparently it's a given because that family is not as wealthy as the other families.
They seem okay.
They're
I
okay.
just want to say.
They're okay enough, But one of the big things is, damn it, what is his actual name? Gale Hansen's character. Is that his name? Gale?
His name is, and I'm looking at it now, is Mr. Perry.
I'm so confused right now.
His name is Mr. Perry. You never learn his first name.
That is definitely not correct.
Because he is an adult. Well, you may at some point, but I'm going by the cast. But I don't think you ever learn his name.
Well, I don't want to go by his chosen name of Nawanda. Although that was a moment.
Oh, wait. Oh, Charlie. I'm sorry. I thought you were referring to somebody else. Charlie Dalton.
Oh, Charlie Dalton. Okay.
I'm sorry. I thought you were referring to...
Who the hell's Mr. Perry? Neil's
father for some reason.
Okay, well first of all,
sorry about that.
That is Mr. I was about to say Neil. That's...
Sorry, fans.
Okay, first of all, that is Kurtwood Smith.
Oh my God, I love him so much.
So...
Love him.
I salute you,
oh, yeah.
Red Foreman.
No, seriously, I do not want to... Yeah, you played being a father who's still... So, okay, sorry.
Well,
I think I'm stealing your thunder.
No. Okay, hold on. The goosebumps are reappearing again.
Oh.
That father... What's interesting is that I figured as I got older, I know this father. I know he's hard.
That's what I thought I would do too. That I'm like, oh, but he loves his son and he just wants the best for him or whatever.
It became more nuanced and
yes,
and he's being absolutely unreasonable, but it's not coming from a place. Well, actually, I as a teenager is like absolutely unreasonable, and hence Neil's reaction and response to that. But of course, no, you love Robin Williams. You hate anyone who is not Robin Williams and is over the age of 25 in this movie. So, you know,
I mean, I was the same age as you. Yeah. And I had, I mean, probably in a weird way, a similar thing where you run this movie at a time that you are like trying to figure out your way in the world. You are like, you feel a great deal of responsibility to be some successful thing, but you don't actually know what that looks like. And then somebody there's this idea of like romance and fun. And when I say romance, in this case, I mean like romantic poets.
Yeah. And
free thinking. Walt Whitman. Yeah. And I would argue that I think this movie, I feel like in a weird way, I don't think that he really teaches them how to think for themselves. I think he teaches them how to feel for themselves.
Interesting. Oh, that's beautifully said.
That's actually what I would say.
That is beautiful. Well, yeah, because he actually had one of his many monologues where he talks about, yes, we should learn our poetry and appreciate these people and then go on with our lives. And that's how it is.
I definitely was one of those monologues. I didn't love all the monologues. Like oh, Captain, my Captain thing kind of like freaks me out. Like it was a little weird because especially with the context of that poem, like he's referring to Lincoln.
Yeah, he said so.
Yeah. But it's like this thing of like, I insist that they call him, oh, Captain, my Captain is just, I don't know. I like, maybe I missed something, but I was like, that was a little eye rolly for me.
Then at the same time, though, if you were in that position.
Oh, of course. When you're 16, that's the thing. When I was 16 and I had teachers and they were my English teachers and my drama teachers, and I worshiped them. I mean, I hung out in the library a lot. Like I was one of those, English teacher kids that like gets invited over for tea and, borrows books from the English teacher.
Interesting. No, I did not have that relationship, but I did go back to visit my English teacher after graduation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. So in this particular
Yeah. So, but you were saying that now you saw it and you're like, I get it. He was unreasonable, but the father.
Oh, yeah. But watching it again and reading, well, first of all, it just Red Foreman on that 70s show all these years afterwards.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
what's interesting is that you've got two completely different portrayals of a gruff father. And of course, one is played for laughs and the other one is played straight. And it's more than enough. And the funny thing is that I get the portrayal in both instances. There's actually a trivia note that at the premiere, Kurtwood Smith saw a father with his son, very gruff towards his son at that. And by the end of the movie, he was sobbing. The father that he saw there was. And I'm just like,
I mean, yeah, that was, whoa. He was, like that scene was, I felt a little over the top, but
when
like
he discovers, okay, so what happens?
Yeah.
So in the movie itself, Neil Patrick Harris, Sean Leonard's character Neil is supposed to be a doctor, and the young Mr. Perry. He should, he gets all of this. You know, his father tells him he's to quit working on the yearbook, and he wants to do a play. But he doesn't tell his father. He actually kind of sneaks behind the scenes.
Because it's not at the school.
Because it's not at the school, right?
It's like a community production.
It is, exactly. So he goes, his father finds out, you know, how could you do this? How can you sneak behind my back? You made me a liar when somebody said, oh, your son's in a play with my niece. And so he makes him quit the play. But of course, for the first time, he stands up to his father. And this was all parts that I had to reintroduce myself to when watching it for the podcast, because this was not the stuff that I watched on repeat. What a surprise. I watched my favorite parts.
Yeah, well, so what were your favorite parts?
Well, in a teen. Let's get
over and over.
Oh, well, let's finish this first. So when his father goes and Neil very happily tells Mr. Keating, Robin Williams, that he said that I could do the play and he'll be gone, so he's not going to see me do it, but I get to do it. And he seems excited that he gets to do the play, but so disappointed that his father's not going to be around to do it.
Yeah, I thought he handled that. Like, I think that's one of the things that made me sort of fall in love with Robert Sean Leonard in this movie, because
that particular scene,
perfect like
middle,
the middle of,
I felt it
of like, yeah, no, it really broke my heart.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
it was one of the parts of the movie because I kept kind of going in and out of loving this movie. Like, I just kept. It was not
throughout the time or as you were watching.
As I was watching it, like when I saw it, I was all in. Like we said, I mean, like the number of yearbooks in which Carpe Diem, even 2 years, I graduated from high school 2 years later. The number of yearbooks that had Carpe Diem in them from this time period is mind blowing.
Okay,
like. People refer to this movie constantly. Like a lot of people, this is when they like started. There were people who were like, I didn't know about Well Women. I mean, hopefully by then you covered him in school, but.
Whereas by the time I got to my yearbooks, it was Carpe Canum sees the dog.
Yeah. It's never the people who really seize the day that put Carpe Diem. I've noticed, this is a little observation I had. I think I said
took that to heart. You knows how much I love my dog.
That's true. See, that's better.
So Neil does the play. His father does come and he sees them. And to be honest, of all the plays for Neil to be in, this was a comedy and it was the silliest. Do you think that if he was doing something like Hamlet, his father would have taken it a little bit more seriously?
I was thinking about that. That's funny. I was thinking about that.
He's a freaking what is his character? It's a nymph.
Yeah, but it's
wood nymph.
Yeah, but it's like, I mean, it's Midsummer Night's Dream, and he
played Claudio.
He played Claudio. No, and he did actually like acting within a movie. This was great. I wonder. I think maybe you're right. But then again, would it have? Yeah, I don't know, but I don't think it would have had the same like resonance in the film.
Okay. Well, no, I understand.
Do you know what I mean? Like if it was Hamlet in a weird way,
it would have been too hard, too deep.
Or but also this idea of like, this is the time of their lives. Like Midsummer Night's Dream is about this sort of fantasy night, you know? It is literally a dream. And there's actually, I mean, Midsummer Night's Dream has a lot to it. A lot gets covered in it, but it's like, I mean, it's very kind of emotional as well as being very fantastical. But yeah, I mean, I wonder if it was something with a little more gravitas but I don't think so, because
I don't think so either.
Because he like the hardest thing about that scene, actually, watching it for me before, the hardest part was actually before the death.
Okay.
The hardest part was
so those who are listening right now and didn't take our advice and go see this movie.
Yes.
His father, Neil's father, comes. He decides that, no, I can't believe you did this. I'm taking you out of the school and I'm enrolling you into military school. You're going to be a doctor.
Yes.
Yep.
But he actually comes in, which I love, like military school equals doctor. That's just genius. And why also, like, I don't know, whatever. It just seems insane. It seems so like that part did not ring true to me. Like, it's so insane.
Yeah, it's just like
such a dramatic thing that you're taking him out of a school which has like very strict rules.
Yeah, I was about to say it's
and
pretty
he's
harsh.
Been doing really well.
Straight A's and extracurriculars, and he was watching like, I think you've been working too hard. We're taking you out of the yearbook committee. The annual, as they call it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, no, you've been working hard. He's like, he's keeping his grades up and he's doing the extracurriculars. I think, well, again, I have reasonable parents. So when I was in high school, my extracurriculars and my, grades, I also had a job. So they didn't have.
And actually, I have to say, like, my parents, who are not listening because I've never told them I do this. But one day I probably will get up the nerve.
Polina, I hate this podcast. You're going to medical school.
You don't have time to do your job. Wait, but you don't know.
And then they punctuate it with dumbass.
Yeah. And then I wonder, where did my parents learn the word dumbass? My mother says dumbass in her heavy accent.
Sorry, your parents.
So I really wanted to do theater. I didn't want to be an actor. I was actually wanted to be a director. And my parents were extremely practical, but they really did support me in doing those things. Like, they really let me. They just wanted me to think about how, if I was going to do this, what it would look like financially. Like, they weren't like, ignore it. They were like, think about it, do that kind of research. Yeah. And, at the time, of course, I resented them slightly. But then, because I was like, oh, it'll all work out or whatever. And they were really supportive and incredibly reasonable. And even like financially, when I was trying to get my equity card and I had an apprenticeship where that, barely paid for my food, they paid some of my rent. And I really, really, really appreciate that. Thank you, Mom and Dad. Maybe I'll tell you about the podcast sometime. Thank you, Mark and Tatiana.
Aww. Were they in the play? What?
Actually, it's Titania.
Oh, I wasn't positive.
It's Titania. I don't know why. I was just thinking that because I talked a lot to my mom today.
It's Michelle Pfeiffer in the movie version?
Titania.
God, she's gorgeous.
I can't believe. Wow, now I really want to watch. Okay, so this is the part I found the most heartbreaking. So he only sees the end of the play.
Yeah.
And for everybody, it's a total revelation because they're like, oh my God. So this boy's never been in a play before.
He's pretty good.
And he's then is Puck in Midsummer Night's Dream.
Robin Williams is okay. Mr. Keating actually managed to say, like, you're already acting with your father. So, yeah. So you might as well.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
Yeah.
But the most heartbreaking thing is basically he, right after the play ends, so he has this triumph.
Yeah.
It's
a standing ovation.
And he is the lead. I mean, Midsummer Night's Dream is a long play. Like, he's been on the stage for almost 3 hours.
And people are laughing at what's happening. I didn't understand what was happening, but then again, they learned Latin and they have an understanding of things that are a little bit more complicated.
They probably did Midsummer Night's Dream too. I mean,
sure.
And also, we only saw parts of it. It was random.
I have sat in high school versions of Shakespeare plays. It took me many times.
That's actually true because everyone's just saying the lines without any.
It takes me many times of hearing the dialogue before I realize, oh wait, that's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's what's happening.
Well, that's why when we watched Much Ado, like the first time I just watched it, and then I was like, I've seen this so many times, I don't want to rewatch it. Not the movie, but the play. And then I was like, oh, that's great. And then the second time I left the closed captions on because I just wanted to enjoy the language. But anyway,
yes,
and sometimes I forget that it's great stuff, but it is weird. I mean, but when you have a great actor doing it, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Like they break it down in a way that makes sense. Everyone should go to the Oregon Shakespeare Festival.
Wow. Okay. Good comment.
Well, if you're here or near Oregon, whatever.
Okay.
Anyway, they always do a really good job, I think.
Okay.
I've never seen them not do a good job.
So now that I've cut you off 8 times about how emotional you became at this scene.
So this scene. Are you having trouble with my emotions right now? Are you afraid?
No, always. I'm always afraid of your emotions.
That's probably best.
Yeah.
Because you know me.
Well, and
you have every right to be afraid.
I just find it amazing with what you're about to say about the moment before what is considered to be the most heartbreaking moment of this movie.
I mean, that was really heartbreaking, but I remember this feeling. This feeling when you're out of a play, when a play ends, and you're either on stage or the director, or even if you're the stage manager, whatever, the feelings, especially when you're an actor, the feelings of adrenaline and closeness that you have with the people that the blood, sweat, and tears that you've worked on, and you, right before play, there's kind of this classic trope of, oh, the dress rehearsal is supposed to be terrible.
Okay.
Because if the dress rehearsal is terrible, the play is going to be good. And the dress rehearsal is almost always terrible. Sometimes it's, depending on the show, it's the first time that you've run tech, like all the way through.
Then again, this is 1959, so there's no tech.
Well, when I say tech, I mean like lights.
Yeah, that's what
and
I meant.
Sound.
No, they didn't have lights.
Yes, in 1959, electricity was not yet invented.
Not for the theater.
That is true. Not for the theater. Yeah, those Klieg lights were not. Anyway, okay. So I was watching, the Fresnel. Only you. No one ever thought I'll only put that on top of a lighthouse. We can't use it inside.
Correct.
Sorry. Oh God, I just got kind of Fresnel. Look it up. I won't bore you. I won't bore you with the history of the Fresnel lens.
I'm not biting, Polina.
You're not biting. I can tell. Okay, stop. I'll go back. So that feeling and that joy and that release of, oh my God, we just pulled it off. And that first time that you have an audience, and especially an audience who is with you. I mean, you've sat in audiences where everybody is so
enthusiastic, yeah.
So in on watching the performance, whatever it is, movie, music, comedy. But to be the receiving end of it, I mean, I remember I used to walk through the theater during just as a stage manager or as a lighting person, like walking through and you'd walk into backstage and set things up and they would go, how's the house? And you could feel them. I mean, you're like, I could tell you that. It was like a weather. It's like being able to figure out the weather. You've lived here long enough. You know how to figure out the weather here. Like, it's that feeling. And to have that, when that comes together, and that's what they were showing, is that feeling. And to have that instantly, just not even... Son, you were this is the part I was like, the writing was a bit, I felt like they could have, as an adult, I was hoping to get more of the, I get why he did this. To not even go, son, you are very good.
Why would he admit that?
But this is not, or son, you were very good tonight. I will let you enjoy this, but you are not doing this again. But he didn't. He instantly snatched any joy, because that's actually what he was. It wasn't the being the doctor. It's the fact that he's like, you will not you will not experience joy.
That's
right. Like you will be a doctor. It's not like And I think he's saying, you'll have time for fun later, but it's basically.
Oh, no, he doesn't care about it. Oh,
right.
No, it wasn't you'll have fun later. It was when you're on your own, then you can make your own decisions. He doesn't care about, i.e. you can have fun or not have fun.
But not even fun, but like, it's like, because you can be in plays. I mean, I was in community theater. I was in community theater with doctors. I was in community theater with lawyers. I was in community theater with like bank presidents.
Bankers. Oh my God. You just named all the future careers.
All the future careers of these men.
Because they were told, Mr. Future.
That on purpose.
Mr. Lawyer, Mr. Yeah, because his friends give him crap because these are the only parents you see,
Yes, exactly. You kind of hear about them. Well, no, you see.
Neil's dad is actively like, no, I am here and I'm making sure you're staying in line.
You do see Todd's parents.
Well, yeah, but they weren't there in the dorm making sure.
They weren't.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that the power, like, and that I found so heartbreaking still. And it makes the suicide. And then I just felt mad at him because I was like.
Which him?
I felt really, really mad. And I felt mad at Robert Sean Leonard. It was uncomfortable for me. No, Neil. I felt so mad at Neil because I was like, just once, just try it. Just try standing up. This is the time to stand up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I wanted him to just run away. That's what I was hoping.
I hate to break this to you.
I know.
Technically, he did.
He kind of did. I know. But
he just did it in a way that said.
That meant he could never be an actor.
It also meant he could never change his mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you could be an actor and then become a doctor.
What's weird is that as I remembered all of this, I'm just like, I remember it being a flair for the dramatic. And sure enough, he puts on the costume.
But then he doesn't have it. Like, he puts on
he puts on the crown.
By the way, I've seen many productions of Midsummer. Those crowns are stunning.
Okay.
They're so beautiful.
Okay. And then here's what also, another reason that I didn't like watching this part. He has his shirt off. I'm like, oh, this is weird. Because I know what he's about to do. And I'm like, what is he doing? Is he like doing this weird, like, ritualistic something?
I think it
especially
is.
with the music that was playing.
Oh,
it made it seem so ritualistic.
And then he basically, it's like freezing cold out. You see snow. Everybody's been bundled up. And then you see him, sort of standing in front of the window, like shirtless. And that's why I did have that moment, even though I know what happens.
Mm-hmm.
I do know what happens. But I had this moment where I'm like, what if I'm misremembering? And I just wanted so badly for him not to do it. And then when you see the key, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot.
Well, it's also like, it's so ingrained in my psyche. When I rewatched it with like a consciousness, I never once didn't think like, oh my God, is he going to kill his father? Instead, because I saw, you see the gun, but no. Never once did I think that.
No.
At any point, but
because there's no rage, there's just a defeat.
Again,
but maybe not. I mean, because he did that thing of like standing in front of the window.
It's dramatic
and kind of feeling,
and also I'm thinking, damn it, Neil, if you were truly a man, you would have killed. No, I'm not going to even go there.
Well, no, I think he should have, like, honestly, like, or done run away. I don't think he should have killed us.
No, of course not. But it's true though, because as much as
it is 1959, and there's a certain
nowhere for
way,
him to go and what he Okay, so Neil kills himself. There is finally a break in his father, and he realizes what happens. And I also forgot that you never hear the gunshot. If anything, you just hear like and then he goes, wait, I heard something.
I
think I heard something, Yeah. So that was,
and then he's like, it's not true. It's not. Oh my God. That was really hard. That was the thing, is like, before, I think when I watched it when I was younger, I was much more about like the horror of the boy dying, but the horror of the parents finding him.
If you were an angry, rage-filled teen like me, of course
I was an angry, rage-filled teen,
Did you ever the whole, that'll teach you?
Oh, totally. I thought it now. I was like, I bet you're going to feel bad. And then I was like, oh God, you do it. It's awful.
Why would I do that? Why would I do that? Because
no, and Kurtwood Smith was incredible in it, because you really believe, you're like for a minute, you do have that moment of like, oh, he didn't really die. He didn't really die. I didn't hear the gunshot. Maybe he didn't really die, because there was a moment in which he's like, He's like, it's not true. It's not true.
And then
so heartbreaking.
And you end up the mother crying, he's going to be okay. He's going to be okay. He's going to be okay. And I'm like, no, I'm sorry, honey. It's not. And also you get, dang it.
The mom.
Well, yeah. No. Okay. You know what? I'm going to officially apologize to our listeners.
If you came here looking for romance.
This is the podcast about relationships and movies.
Well, and I will say, like, look,
romantic relationships.
I know, but I think there is a romantic relationship that we're talking about. It's just not the same kind of relationship.
Don't push it, Polina. Let's be honest. This movie, I'll speak for myself. This movie got to me in a way where I was just attached to these characters.
Me too.
For my own way. Because in the beginning, you've got, again, Knox and Chris. And he's just like, again, these are the boys who are just like, oh, we have all these things we need to do, but he wants they want girlfriends, of course. But I'm just like, where are these men? Yeah. In my life.
Yeah. Where are the men who are also going to read Leaves of Grass?
And who are going to be the ones who are, okay, first of all, the Chris's of the world, they have the Chets of the world. So you got your cheerleader and your jock. Hey, guess what? Over here, I'm over here. Read poetry to me.
Yeah.
I'm over here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Listen to me.
Yeah.
Although then again, if a guy did show up when I didn't want him to.
Seriously, like the prep school kid shows up, or it's always weird.
Yeah.
In your public school.
Yeah. So my crush on Josh Charles, of course, is the origin of this is.
Okay. So that was so was it Josh Charles that was a crush for you at that time?
Yes.
Or it wasn't Robert Sean Leonard.
Yes.
I mean, I don't blame you.
I need a pick.
No. We don't need a pick. I think we already decided that was Sophie's choice.
Well, the funny thing is that in my realm, Ethan Hawke was number 3.
I know.
Yeah.
He was number 1. But though, rewatching it, it might not be.
Well, we talk about the overall lifetime because look at the other...
I still have a crush on Ethan Hawke.
No, that's fine. Look at the other movies you have to work with in terms of that. So I had Robert Sean Leonard in this movie. I have him in Much Ado About Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I have Josh Charles in this movie, and I have him in Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. Ethan Hawke was also there. And he was the mousy character in this movie.
See, to me,
I felt bad for him.
To me, my whole thing with Josh Charles is actually Sports Night.
Don't you take away Sports Night. I wasn't done yet.
Oh.
That's no.
Sorry, I cut you off.
Sports Night came out when I was in high school. So I was able to not only watch Sports Night, but backtrack.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sports Night was one of those things where my husband and I watched it together, and it was a thing about sports, and I'm not a big sports person. And I was one of those kind of recovering like geeks who think like everyone who's into sports is dumb. Okay. I have to admit.
Well,
and then my husband and other people who like watch sports because they're like entertaining.
Do you remember the tagline for Sports Night?
No.
Sports Night, it's about sports the same way Charlie's Angels is about law enforcement.
Oh my God, yeah. I loved that show so much. And then The Good Wife. I didn't
watch it, but when I found out he was in it, I'm just like, I don't have time just to watch something new, but good for you.
Oh, it's so good.
Mm-hmm.
And there's other things. But anyway,
Yep.
Okay, so I think we'll just take a moment we'll just take a sigh.
We will recognize that.
I guess we could talk about the romance.
Josh Charles's character Knox's pursuit of Chris, whom he met when he had to have dinner with his parents' friends. She was there. She was dating their son, and all of a sudden he's instantly smitten.
Mm-hmm.
And then he writes poetry about her. He gets invited to a party that she's hosting. And
he gets way too drunk.
And
she's passed out, and he tries to kiss her.
He does kiss her.
Yeah.
He kisses her on the forehead.
Yeah.
And
that could have gone. I was a little afraid.
To be fair, when I remembered it, I swear that like he came into a room while she was sleeping by herself. So it wasn't as I remembered it, which was helpful.
This whole thing, the whole Chris thing, I realized I just did not register with me at all.
I forgot.
To me, the real romance is them with Robin, with Mr. Keating, the Robert Williams character. To me, that's the romance.
Well, I'm not going to say romance. I
don't mean love, or maybe love story. The real love story.
To me, I was driven in like hearing them not being lectured to, but being taught.
Yes.
Like, you know, having
We
them
all wanted that.
stand on desks to see world from a different perspective, having them walk around the courtyard and realize that eventually you will fall in line. So realize, you know,
yeah.
and then I also
how hard it is
to not just conform. And then he also says to the students, for those of you who thought, oh, well, if I were doing that, I would have done it differently. Ask yourself why you were clapping to the beat.
Yeah.
And of course, that speaks to the end. And this is kind of the hardest part of me watching this movie, not the suicide as much as afterwards the administration tries to pin everything on Robin Williams' character. And
that was really upsetting.
That was actually the part that I had the hardest
because he actually said, like, because the guy, he kills himself, and the father, one of the many announcements that they're given by the administrator, let it be known there will be a thorough investigation. And I'm like, of a suicide?
Yeah. Well, a suicide is unusual, so therefore.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but like, I don't know. There was a suicide every single year in my high school, and we never had a thorough investigation.
That's not the 1950s, Paulina.
There was a lot of suicide in the 1950s.
Well, let me put it to you this way. I would imagine that this was not the kind of thing that they could hush up, therefore they...
No. Yeah. And basically but the thing is, he didn't even kill himself on their property.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so they could have hushed it up.
Well, I don't think...
But it's the father was like, this guy's putting ideas into their heads, which is kind of weird, because isn't that why you go to school, to have ideas put in your head?
Well, not the ideas that I paid to have put in my son's head.
Yeah.
Yeah. I paid a lot of money to get my son.
I mean, one thing I really liked about the poetry thing, I didn't love, like, I really felt like he could really, he could have gone into more about teaching, like, the poetry. But I did like the whole thing where he began with saying, you don't need to, you evaluating poetry on this, it was like a scale. So it was how important was it versus how important was it versus, or how the sentence was constructed. So then you basically put it together on a scale. And the whole thing is that you're supposed to read the poetry and judge it on a scale rather than reading the poetry to enjoy it. And what was
it? Its perfection on the horizontal and its importance on the vertical.
Yeah, it's like literally how they say it.
It was literally
what's the importance of what they say is
they're trying to quantify poetry.
And his thing is basically that unless you are one of the people trying to choose poetry to go into a book, poetry is a way to enrich your life. And for me, this movie was sort of useful because that's kind of what my parents taught me, right? Like, my parents read a lot of poetry to me as a child. We grew up in a culture that was really into poetry and was really into memorizing poetry.
Yep.
And I was really lucky that way, right? And so that was something that really stuck with me.
They don't have a poetry factory where you can get a living wage.
No, but the thing is, it wasn't that there wasn't you will just be a starving poet or you're an engineer. My parents were engineers, but my parents there wasn't that binary, which I think was a really big part, certainly in the 80s, of even American education was very much about like left brain, right brain.
Yep.
And never to the shall meet. So like my parents had very left brain careers, but they read poetry and there was no weirdness about that. And I think to me, this movie was also kind of culturally useful because though I had lots of friends who grew up similarly, there were also other people that were I had a lot of conversations after this movie with people that were like, oh, I get why you like this or why you go on about this in English class or whatever it was that I did.
And a lot of it, just the beauty of the verse at times.
And for a lot of people, Leaves of Grass is beautiful. I don't think there's ever, I don't think anyone has too much Leaves of Grass in their lives.
I used to, sorry.
Yeah.
With Ryan and me, it's always The Simpsons where Homer is at a grave and he thought for years it was his mother's, but it was Walt Whitman, and he starts kicking it. I hate you, Walt freaking Whitman. Leaves of grass, my ass.
I love that scene.
Yeah, of course. And he's kicking the tombstone as it happens.
No, I love it. Actually, because I have a copy of Leaves of Grass. This is also pretend like often near my bed, and sometimes I just pick it up, but not as often as I probably should. But sometimes I also think of that scene when I'm like cleaning and I find it, and because I have to go through like, you know, the book stack near my bed, and I'm like, Leaves of Grass, my ass.
There is this
again. You can enjoy both.
I hope so.
What kind of life would it be if you couldn't?
I used to have a lot of the quotes, not from the poetry, but from Robin Williams' interpretation of it afterwards.
Yeah,
because the poetry itself, it's just a little bit too much for me, because I think it's going from 0 to 60. Because I've been out of the realm of reading poetry it's for a really long time. So one of the ones that I wanted to make sure that I had was he's quoting Walt Whitman in the beginning, and what I loved was that you are here, that life exists and identity, that the powerful play goes on and you may contribute a verse. Yeah. And then he repeats it, that the powerful play goes on.
But that's actually...
And you may contribute a verse. What will your verse be?
But that's not him. That's Walt Whitman.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Is it actually?
Yes.
Because they like do it in weird quotes and then they take it away. This sucks. They stop the quote there and then quote there. No, I understand that it is Walt Whitman, but I'm saying the way it's being quoted right now.
No, I'm pretty sure what will your verse be.
I'm telling you that this Bustle article is leading me astray.
All right. I may be wrong. It's been a while.
I don't care. No, I believe that you are right. I'm saying that I myself believe this Bustle article. We will put a link to the Bustle article.
No, get it. To be honest, I don't remember. But most of it is Walt Whitman and not him.
To be fair, it's 11 Robin Williams Dead Poets Society quotes that inspire you to carpe diem. They might want to read the other 10 quotes.
No, you should actually, because they do inspire to carpe diem. I mean, I don't know. I did feel like, some of it was a little simplistic, but
all right, I need to go home and seize the dog. So,
yeah.
Well, okay.
So do we talk about Chris and?
Well, I can tell you what I think. I don't condone, and I was getting for this before, I don't condone his pursuit of her. And I think we had a conversation with Brendan from Radio Brendo Man, saying that he watched this when he was younger, and this encouraged him to just keep going for it. And it turns out he was pursuing girls where they're just like, no, please leave me alone.
No, I said no.
Yeah, he had to, well, not like in the get your hands off me.
No, certainly not. No, but more in the like, I will keep making romantic gestures. I will keep making romantic gestures. I will keep making bigger and bigger romantic gestures.
And what's kind of rough about this is that as I'm older, I can view these now as there's a difference between I don't want this attention and I am unsure about this situation. Please stop pursuing me. Because she's in a relationship and she's just like, but I don't know if she's even happy in that relationship. It's all left ambiguous.
They make it kind of clear that she's not, but that was a little bogus.
But then why did she afterwards? And I think that's putting see, as a human being that knows my own back and forth, people pursuing me, or, me being pursued when I didn't want to be pursued.
Oh yeah, no, it's awful. It's like,
I'm not bragging,
incredibly, no, I don't think you are. I mean, you're very pursuable, but second off, we all have had these conversations. I mean, we've all had this, maybe not all, but there is definitely a thing that, and this is what we talked about with, in Los Angeles, is we're talking about the difference between the romantic gesture and the romantic gesture when it's wanted. Is amazing and beautiful.
Could also be overwhelming.
But the romantic gesture when it's not wanted is creepy and weird. And he was talking about that it took him a while to figure out what that looked like. And I think that's not uncommon when you're 16. Also, like, I'm going to give it that. Like, the physical gesture that's unwanted. Really, you should just figure that out very quickly.
And for the record, just because we don't want someone to beat you up, that doesn't mean we appreciated what you did. It means we do not want you to die.
Yes.
Because I was just thinking about too. I'm just like, oh, she's trying really hard to protect him. Like, no, that man will kill him.
Yeah.
But it's a sad he's going to.
Yeah. I mean, he basically is really drunk. She's passing. He's like, oh, it's in a public place. She's over and he's really drunk and he sees her sleeping and it's kind of this angelic thing. Mm-hmm. Like they kind of make it where he just like touches her hair.
In general, I do like it when my husband kisses me on the forehead.
Is like, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, it was, I don't condone it. She was passed
when I'm
out.
Conscious.
Yes, I do like it better when I'm conscious. But unconscious is fine. But then again, we sort of have,
And in the end, they go to the play together. And I think what's going to happen, he quote unquote, instantly falls in love with her. But that's like 17-year-old. Like,
oh, yeah.
I've never seen anyone like this before in my life. Guess what? When you move to college, when you go to co-ed schools, when you start going out into the world, that's exactly it, though. He went out. He's surrounded by boys all the time. He instantly sees this girl, and it's just like, So I think it's because she was blonde.
Maybe.
He'd never seen that before.
He's never seen a blonde girl.
So that was the instant.
It's not a monastery. It's they do go home for breaks.
Yeah. And then she returns his affection. She fell in love with him when she didn't push his hand away at the play.
Well, he said, just give me one chance. And I think like that was a magical night. It was a magical night.
It was definitely a magical night. The play, the adrenaline, and the enjoyment of the situation. Also, I didn't think that would have been any good. It's just like, just sit with me. Sit with me in a room where we will not interact.
I am at my best sitting in a room when you shouldn't interact with me. Just give me one chance.
That's a great thing. He has to be calm.
No, but if you think about it, like they have this whole thing where experiencing something together.
That is something.
It brings you together much more than talking.
Yeah. So there's that.
So actually he's a friggin' genius.
So to answer the next question, he's going to be forced to become a lawyer. He's going to resent it. She's not going to be around because their basis is not going to go anywhere.
Really?
The relationship. As much as I want to think that they're going to get married because that's what happens in the 1950s, you meet somebody.
Well, by that time, it would be in the 1960s.
You meet somebody in the 1960s and then you marry them. Now, is it going to be Mad Men where they're going to get married but then resent each other?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
You gave my thing away.
Shit. He's going to be lawyer Don Draper. I don't want that for now.
No, I don't think he's going to be lawyer Don Draper.
He's not good enough.
I think she's going to resent him because he's going to become really boring. That's my story. So this is when I think they fall in love.
Was there another part of the movie that I missed?
No, they didn't fall in love. I think that she starts realizing she has feelings for him when she stops him from beating her up, because I think it upsets her so much. And then
she stops Chet from beating up Knox.
And that's why she comes to the place and she's like, so I think what's going to happen is they're going to stay together in college, like through college. They may go to sister and brother schools or whatever.
Okay.
Like the Seven Sisters, Massachusetts type thing. This is all very East Coast to me.
I do not. Yeah. I don't speak the lingo.
So I think she's going to go to Smith and he's going to go to I don't know, Hampshire. Nah, he's probably someplace better. Maybe Harvard. And he will, actually, maybe she'll go to Wellesley. She's a Wellesley girl. I don't know. Anyway. So she's gonna, notice I have no idea where he's going to go. I'm going to go Harvard. I'm going to go Harvard. Because the whole Seven Sisters thing, they have to be near each other because it's the only way it's going to work. So they're going to see each other.
We're giving this future to somebody that we don't really know all that well.
That is what we do here, though.
I don't like her very much, though. So
there was not much to like or dislike to me. But anyway, I think they'll get together. I think it will be I think they'll get married. I think it will be the 60s. I think she will grow resentful of him because he's going to become kind of boring. But he's going to carry this whole pretentious, I know about poetry thing. But he's really never going to read any more poetry than the 4 poems that he read in high school.
You think there's going to be like a 10-year reunion where he's going to get like crap because he just became exactly what he didn't want to be?
I think there's going to be a 10-year reunion, but they're not going to give each other crap because all of them will become. I think it'll be like it'll be that like
they're going to be uber successful, every single one of them.
And they're going to like be like, oh, we're going to get the Dead Poets Society back together, and they'll like read the poems and they'll feel bohemian. Like I think 60s? That they'll always I just think like that's what they'll do. They'll like kind of keep returning to this idea of bohemia, except actually. My man, Todd, who I think actually Todd is going to become a writer.
I think this is the first time we've mentioned his name for Hawktober.
Hawktober.
So Robert Sean Leonard,
very shy. I know. I'm failing at all fronts. Okay, so I think Todd is actually going to be the one.
He's number 3 on my list.
He's going to become he's going to become the writer.
Interesting,
because it's going to be because he's always watching. Mm-hmm. And I think he has dyslexia because I think dyslexia was very big in the late 80s. Or actually in the 80s in general. They thought I had dyslexia because when I came here when I was 7.
He doesn't have dyslexia. He is the second-born son of the perfect son.
Yeah, but you notice that he like feel, like filling things out or reading. I was always going to say like, oh, they figure out he had dyslexia, but he never did. But regardless, he's going to become a writer.
Okay.
He's going to become, I think he's going to stay in contact with John Keating.
Okay.
Because I think he's always going to feel like, I can't believe I signed that piece of paper.
Oh, yeah.
Which you actually never see him sign, and I keep thinking he didn't, but I feel like that would have come up.
Well, no, if he didn't sign it, he would have been expelled.
That's what I mean. Yeah. So
I think would have come up.
I know, but like, yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, he wouldn't have been there.
But
he wouldn't have apologized.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. I just was like,
they made me do it, Mr. Keating.
Yeah. I guess you're right.
They made me
not
do it.
Yeah, they made me not do it.
Pay attention, please.
Yeah. Sorry. I was too busy going. He's on screen again. No. So I think he's going to become the writer, and I think he is actually going to be the one to like lead more of an interesting life, like maybe a journalist, not like a war hero kind of journalist, but like a sort of a Tom Wolfe type. That's what I see in him. Maybe not as flamboyant.
I didn't have a future picked out for Ethan Hawke's character Todd, which I think
that's okay. I had enough of a future picked out for both of us.
Oh, that's fine.
But anyway, I think Chris. Yeah.
Well, if I could steal the sequel that never happened.
Yes. Dead Poets Society 2. Still dead.
Still a society.
Still dead. There's still some dead poets. Society still hasn't crumbled.
No. Society's dead.
Civility is dead.
Now, is it the poets?
It takes place in 1989.
Is it the poets that are dead, or is it the society that's dead? Actually, they wanted to do a sequel where Todd becomes a teacher. And he goes into the same format of
that makes sense, actually.
Means of teaching them the same way as Mr. Keating. I would imagine Mr. Keating just returned to London, because one of the things I forgot is that he has a photo of his.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot about his wife. But I
don't know if it's his wife. Is it his wife or his girlfriend?
Yeah, no, they never say
his person.
But he does say like, it makes it seem like
it's hard because she's in London.
Yeah,
she is alive. She's not like some magical, and it is.
But they're together. They're not just like it's not a person that is.
No longer
is like it's like the past.
Yeah, no, that's not that.
Yeah, I think I like that.
So
he returns to London and maybe teaches there.
Maybe he follows him to London.
Oh, interesting.
To finish his education. No, I take that back. He finishes school, and then instead of going to college or whatever it is, he goes to London with Mr. Keating.
Gets a job at the Herald Tribune.
The what now?
The Herald Tribune.
I heard something about shrimp. What?
The Herald Tribune.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know. I have this, and then he's walking down the street and he sees the first time he sees his byline in London.
Considering that I am not married to the idea of Todd's future, I'm going to go with whatever Plana says.
No, I like yours. I like your fan. I like your.
The one that I stole from the IMDb trivia.
No, I like, but I think that, That's my thing.
This only won 1 Oscar for screenplay. And it was the same year, I believe, if my memory is failing, I apologize in advance, listeners, but it was the same year as Sex, Lies, and Videotape.
Oh, yeah, it was.
When Harry Met Sally.
Mm-hmm.
Do the Right Thing.
Yeah, it was a rough year.
And a third thing. And also Robin Williams lost to Daniel Day-Lewis for My Left Foot. So when I saw that, I'm just like, oh, I'm sorry, Robin Williams, you didn't have a chance.
I saw every one of those movies. I have an opinion about every. Oh my God, that was a major year. I spent a lot of time in that theater.
I was about to say, no, I have opinions on all of them. I haven't seen them, but that's just what I do.
Yeah, that's true.
All right.
No, I loved every single one of those movies.
So there it is.
Yes,
Dead Poet Society.
Dead Poet Society. We somehow made it. We're halfway through Hawktober.
So do you want to do a barbaric yawp?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't. The mics would probably hate us.
Just imagine what it'd be like.
I'm gonna Todd yawp. Yawp. That's my yawp.
Good job.
Yeah. So, all right then.
Okay. So
there it is.
What do we?
Hawktober. Hawktober continues.
Hawktober. It never ends.
Well,
unless
Okay. So,
eventually it will end, but to Diana, it feels like it will never end.
No. Here's the deal. So, in the beginning, we said it was just going to be very short. Hawktober.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're going to keep going because Polina wins. It will not be forever, though. But next time around, we're going to be talking about Gattaca.
Yay!
Apparently.
Because that has Uma Thurman, who I also have a crush on.
Which is the center of Hawktober, Uma Thurman.
That's really, Hawktober is just an intro to my crush on Uma Thurman, who I shared a drink with.
And apparently a crush on her husband with
yes.
former
it's
husband.
True.
Ex-husband. Yeah, we're going to be talking about
I didn't share
Gattaca.
that fact with her.
At the time or ever?
Well, being that it was only one time, ever.
Okay. All right, then. So, thank you so much for joining us. If you have real thoughts about Ethan Hawke that you want to share with us, because clearly I have none.
Fake that. Or any of these people. It does not have to be.
Apparently, if you have also shared a drink with Uma Thurman. Jeez, Polina, why do you have to alien our listenership by isolating it?
To be honest, she bought me a drink so that she could move away from me and not share it.
She bought you a drink?
She did. I'll tell the story with Gattaca.
Coming up next.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So how about this? If you want to
brag about my celebrity encounter with Uma Thurman.
If you want to tell Polina to stop bragging about Uma Thurman, you can reach us on Twitter at HEAMCast.
Yes, HEAMCAST.
We're also on Facebook at Happily Ever Aftermath. You also can email us contact@heamcast.com.
And we love that.
Yeah.
Well, we love it all, really.
Yeah. And if you like us, please tell a friend. You can spread the word and help us, reach new listeners.
Mm-hmm.
We'd really appreciate it.
Yeah. And expand the community.
We're very, very happy to be part of the Lady Pod Squad.
Yes, we are.
And I would love it if you wanted to find other lady-led podcasts. You search on social media, #Lady Pod Squad. And
yeah, there are ladies. There are also men who are have podcasts like the aforementioned. Like everything I learned from movies.
Oh no, I know about
that. So it's not just ladies.
Oh, I thought you were just speaking like in general terms.
There are also yes. In general, I don't know if anyone's noticed, but actually there are men doing podcasts as well. I know it's weird.
When did this start? Never mind.
When did the men doing podcasts start? I don't know. Who knew?
Yep.
Who knew there were men doing podcasts as well?
Now that we've managed to scare you all away, you can also leave us a review.
Yes, on iTunes.
Rate, review, subscribe. That really helps us out as well. All right. Then.
All right. I think we've run out of it.
You know what we're doing next. We'll see you for Gattaca.
Gattaca.
Thank you.
And we may have a special guest.
Yes.
Yes. All right.